we are moving on to the second floor framing, but before we can cut any joinery, before we can do any of that, we've got to cut some timbers on the sawmill. That also means before I can finish the second floor, I'm going to have to go cut more trees down. But we've got enough to get started. I'm hoping I have enough logs big enough diameter wise to do all the 10 by 10s for the top plates. Those 10 by 10s are the last of my large timbers, and we're going to get creative getting those onto the second floor because my tractor does not pick quite high enough to put them up there. We're going to use a little bit of brute strength and ignorance and maybe some hillbilly ingenuity to try to get those up there. So, cut sheet for what I need for the second floor framing. This does not include the rafters. I'm going with common rafters, standard 2x8s, 2 foot on center. The spans are going to be, figuring out the loads, the spans are, they're not that long. Now, doing the gambrel roof, those rafters are only going to be not quite 10 feet long by the time we're all said and done. So, anyhow, for the top plates, we need to mill up 8 10 by 10 by 16 footers. For the top plate braces, I need to cut 16 4 by 6 by 50 inchers, which will cut longer stock obviously. For the queen post, I need to mill 10 8 by 8 by 10 footers. For the purlin plates, I need to mill 8 by 8 by 16 foot. Queen post ties, and this is where I have to do a little more, for the queen post ties I need to do a little more figuring on the load of those. Right now I'm leaning towards 6 by 8 by 16 footers, and those are going to be 5 of those. Queen post braces, I need 10 4 by 6 by 50 inchers. So that's it. Sounds like a lot, but when you figure out the board footage it took to do the first floor, I mean, I had 2 triaxle loads of logs, and then I had logs that I cut out in the woods to do this first floor. So in terms of what I have going on the second floor, it's not going to be nearly the board footage. I can actually cut smaller logs to get what I want out of them, and we're going to go from there. So we're going to get moving to the sawmill. I've got a log loaded up on there, and let's see what we can do here. Alright, so we got a log on the sawmill. This is my narrow end down here, and I've got a decent butt swell on the other end. A couple things we have to do here before we can even start milling this guy. We got to kick it over. I'm going to use this piece of square stock to do so. We're going to kick it over. Might as well do it right now. Alright, since we've got a slight taper in this log, it's actually more pronounced right at the very end, and that's pretty common with trees. When you cut them down, cut them close to the ground, you're going to get a butt swell. A lot of these, some guys, I had a lot of comments in that video where I cut these trees down about cutting them so high. I do that because I used to clear a lot of lots for people on the side here and there, and they like to leave the stumps tall enough to get a backhoe with a thumb on it over the stump to rip the roots out of the ground. So it's a habit I got into. For me, it's a little more comfortable to cut because I'm so tall, and I can kind of get away from the tree a lot faster when it starts to go over. But when dealing with a butt swell, you're going to hear this a lot when you talk about timber framing, anything like that. What we're trying to accomplish when we're cutting the timbers for this frame, now, I'm not concerned as much about braces, stuff like that. We're talking the main structural load-bearing timbers on this frame. You got to box the heartwood. So what that means is you want 2 ways about it. You can either have your timbers completely free of heartwood, but you're going to need an awful big tree to be able to get your timbers free of heartwood for timbers this size. So what I do, because obviously I don't have the capabilities to handle logs that big, and to be honest with you, there aren't many logs left in the Northeast that big. So what we have to do is we have to box that heartwood. We want that heartwood centered in that timber. Reason being, when that timber dries out, it may crack on one side. It may crack just about into the pith of that log, which is going to be the very center of the heartwood. It may crack all the way there, but it's probably not going to continue out the other side. So when you box the heartwood, it's a more stable timber. It's not going to have a tendency to twist on you quite so much. It's just a more stable timber. So in order to accomplish that, what I have to do on two sides of this log, I'm going to have to jack it up probably to get that, to accomplish that. So what I end up doing is I'm going to measure to the heartwood, the center of the heartwood on that end. I'm going to measure it to this end. I've had a lot of times where I've had a taper like this in the logs, and they measure out to be exactly the same without any jacking, which is nice. If you can get away with that, it's really nice. But I don't have a fancy sawmill with the toe kick rollers that do it for you, so we're going to do all this the hard way, just like we do everything on this channel. But anyhow, up here, I'm at 14.5 inches to the center of the heartwood on here. I'm at 18 inches down there. So what we're going to do now is I've got to jack this log up 4 inches on this end to account for that butt swell down there to get my heartwood centered. Another reason you do that, if you just throw your log on there and you mill it the way it is, you're going to have grain run out. You're trying to go for stable timbers so that basically you want to try to keep as much of the growth rings on a single plane as you can. You don't want to be cutting across a bunch of your growth rings like that because it's going to give you a weaker timber. You're going to have a spot where the stresses could cause that to split right there where that grain run out is. So we really want to avoid that. That's why we're going to the lengths to do this. Plus we want to center the heartwood as best as we can in this timber. So we're going to get moving. I'm going to jack this up and we'll continue on the conversation afterwards. we're going to see if I can hold this camera steady and the tape measure. Show you guys what we got. 10 inches there. Get wiggly here for a second. And 10 inches there, right on the money. I think. Now we're about a 1/16 under there. So there it is, guys. Nice 10 by 10. That's gonna be a top plate, and I want to show you what I meant. I'll get out of the light. Get the camera out of the light. The phone. There's what I meant by boxing the heartwood. Sorry for the wiggly camera, guys, and my finger on the lens. But right there, that's the heartwood. I'll measure again here. And see, 5 inches is just about perfect on that heartwood. And that's what we want. Same thing there. Alright, another milling video, guys. We're going to have quite a few more milling ones coming up as we go along here. So I have 7 more of these to mill for the top plates. And like I said, I've got a pile of them over there. So hopefully I have enough logs. Now, out of this particular log, the narrow end of this log was 19 inches. Out of that 19-inch thick log on the narrow end, because remember we cut the taper out of the other end so we could box the heartwood, and that way we don't have grain run out on the timber, because we don't want that. That's bad on timbers and pegs. But so out of a good straight log, 19-inch on the narrow end, we got 10 1-inch thick floorboards, and they're only 1 inch thick because that's a subfloor. I'm going to go over top of that with another 1.5 inch layer of flooring that I'm probably going to make tongue and groove or at least splined. But that's a long ways down the pike. But anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this one. We're going to keep at it all weekend here. Should have 2 or 3 videos over the next few days coming. Today is the 14th, just so you guys know where we're at, because I usually film. I go in, stay up half the night, edit, get up, go to work in the morning, drag ass all day, and come home and do it all over again. But so for those of you interested, I set up a Facebook page for this channel quite a while ago. Haven't done anything with it yet because I just haven't had time. Tonight I started slowly putting up the vlog videos on there, but I want to let you guys know, any of you guys with your own channels, if you would like to plug your videos, anything like that, feel free. It's a public Facebook group. It's the Tradesman Channel Facebook group. I will try. I'm learning all this social media stuff, guys, so you have to be patient with me for links and stuff like that. But I believe it's the Tradesman Channel Facebook group. Check it out. It's brand new, so there's not a lot of posts there, but as long as you keep it clean and politic free, post all you want, guys. Share your videos. If you have woodworking projects, timber framing, welding, whatever it is you're working on, feel free to post it up. I'd like to kind of put it in the direction of information sharing, so people teaching other people how to do stuff. I also had set up an Instagram account quite a while ago. It's the Tradesman Channel 2017, all one word. I made the first post on that tonight. So they say that's what you got to do to run a successful YouTube channel, but so we'll see how it all works. So anyhow, I will put the links to the Facebook as well as the Instagram on the website, tradesmanoffgrid.com, just as quick as I can. Bear with me, guys. There's a few of you who are looking for information from me. One gentleman in particular would like a diagram of the scarf joints. I'm trying to figure out SketchUp so I can get him a good quality diagram, so please bear with me, but I will get it out to you. So anyhow, you guys have a good evening. I will catch you on the next one.